Welcome to the Pro Aging Podcast. I'm Steve Gurney, founder of the Positive Aging Community. We're thrilled to have you join us for interactive discussions with pioneers and thought leaders on a wide variety of topics related to aging and longevity. These insightful discussions and the Positive Aging Sourcebook are brought to you thanks to the support from our Positive Aging Community champions. Visit proaging.com to connect with them and discover hundreds of valuable other resources. We're excited to have you with us today, so let's jump into an engaging Positive Aging live and interactive discussion. I've got a timer set for 10 minutes. I'm going to shut up in 10 minutes, whether I'm done or not. As those of you who know me know that I can talk about this topic or any topic that we talk on our platform for hours. And as much as I'd like to think I could talk for 10 minutes, this is not going to be easy. But I tried to put together a few brief slides that will lead in and hopefully trigger some conversation that we can have around this topic that comes up on every single one of our webinars. Yesterday with the Aging Life Care Managers, questions about aging in place or making a move. So let's dive into it. Okay, first off, we've all heard that, and we've all said, and the newspaper headlines scream it, that Americans want to age in place. They don't want to move. Okay, so I wanted to share with you some of the data on this, and the most widely referenced research is the AARP Aging in Place and Community Study, and that has been updated in December 2024. So this is pretty recent data that we've got here. Now, I'm going to share with you a link to that study so you can dive into it. I'm probably going to share my screen here in a moment so we can actually look at a summary of it. But here's the big picture, is that 75% of adults age 50 plus want to remain in their current homes as they age. And everybody talks about this differently, but I refer that to being aging in place. So wherever you are now, if you want to stay there, let's call that aging in place. But then 73% say that they want to remain in their communities. And I call that aging in community. So an example would be of aging in community would be, well, I might not want to stay in this 3-bedroom single family home, but I want to stay in my city. And so I'm going to find an apartment that or a condo or a smaller home, or I'm going to move in with my best friend so that I can stay here in this community that I love. All right. So now I basically summarized on this screen eight points out of this AARP study, but I'm going to go straight to the link where they released the study, and I'm just going to walk you through these 8 points right off the website. Okay. The first point that they made, that I just referenced, is most adults feel their communities meet their needs now, but won't as they age. 64% of adults 18 plus are currently happy, but 50% don't think that it's going to meet their needs when they get older. Okay. And 44% of adults 50 plus think that they might have to move at some point. And again, this is the AARP study, over 1,000 people across the country. So I'm not making up these numbers. Point number 2, the cost of living is the main driver for older adults looking for a new community. 65% of adults 50 plus say that they would leave their community for one with a lower cost of living. So we also know that cost and affordability is a big issue. Point number 3, the desire for social connections, opportunities in communities is on the rise for all adults. And this, I think, is something that I'm going to reference here shortly, but that can be a real driver because we have a much bigger awareness how loneliness and isolation is not healthy. Point number four, the cost of maintaining a house is a major concern. The 44% that anticipate a move will necessarily cite the need for affordable housing at any reason. Among the group, 71% cited rent or mortgage expense as a key issue when expecting to have to move. Point number five, older adults are not keen on designed 50 plus communities. And I know we're going to talk about this today because while age segregated communities can be appealing and they have lots of services, the fact that they're segregated seems to be a challenge for a lot of folks. Now, an interesting stat, they surveyed people 18 plus on this, and younger people are people between the ages of 18 and 49 cited that they were more open to moving to an age segregated community. Um, those over 50 who plan to stay expect to modify their homes. 43% of older adults say that they will need to make their homes more accessible as they age. And now, how many will do that? I don't know, but I'm glad that such a high percentage know that their homes should be modified. Point number seven, new and improved technology is part of the age in place plan for many 50 plus adults, whether it be just a doorbell surveillance camera or home safety features. And last but not least, for caregivers, support is paramount. Nearly half of all the older adults are currently caregivers and expect at some and or expect to be at some point in their life, and making sure that their home is equipped to be a caregiver is key. All right. So now I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint here, and now I'm going to share what I think is an important slide on this topic. Okay. So I've been doing this for 35 years. I've had thousands of conversations with people that are either contemplating moving, figuring out how to age in place, or questioning all the above. And in addition, as some of you know, I actually, when I was 43, I went in and I lived in 5 communities temporarily as a resident. And when I made that move, I kind of walked out of that experience with this image that you see on the screen, this four-legged stool. And the top of the stool is living with meaning and purpose, not aging in place versus making a move, because at every age we want to live with meaning and purpose. But what I found was my fellow residents in these communities that I was living in, that one or all four legs of this stool was a little weak. And that's why they made the decision to move to the communities or make a change to their home and adapt it. So one of the things that those of us who advocate for positive aging, uh, the drum that we beat is you got to make a plan. Okay, you can't just say I want to age in place. You got to say I'm going to age in place and I'm going to make a plan. Well, that's the hard part, and we make the plan sound too complicated and too hard. So I'm going to make it easy for you today. Um, whether and also I want to compliment anybody that's on this call, because just being on this call is you're brave enough to at least start thinking about this. The people we're concerned about are the ones that don't do anything. So here's how you can make a plan for aging in place, making a move, your future. Just answer these 4 questions that relate to or I shouldn't say answer, start thinking about these 4 questions that relate to the image that you see on my screen. The first is, what if I can't drive or I don't want to drive? That's the getting around leg of the stool. What would it be like living in the home that you're in today with no personal automobile. Could you do it? A lot of times I give this talk and I'll get a call a week or so later and it says, hey, I decided to live without my car for a few days and I learned a lot. Okay. So that's the getting around. That's question one. Question two is, what if I can't get around my home easily? So I want you to imagine that the home that you're in, and this doesn't mean that it's going to happen, but what if you had a mobility problem? What if it was just temporary? You busted up your knee and had to have some surgery. Can you get up and down the stairs? Can you get around? Can you take a shower? Just you don't need to just think about this, talk about it, be willing to look at your environment and say, if this happened, holy cow. Hey, Google, off. Wow, that was 10 minutes. I really babbled, don't I? Okay. Um, I tell you what, I'm going to stop sharing because I told you I was going to only talk for 10 minutes and I was on a tear where I could probably talk for 50 minutes. So I'm going to quickly jump to questions and I'm going to jump to chat. And if you guys want me to keep going on my tangent there, I can always go back to that. But I want this open forum to be about you all and about the concerns that you have and responding to your questions. Okay. So let's see here. Someone says, will there be CEUs available for this training? No, but I can prepare for you. If you send me an email, I can give you a certificate of attendance, and perhaps your employer would like that. Um, Okay. Jennifer says, how do I ascertain the financial stability of a home? I was shaken by a recent newspaper article about the bankruptcies and sale of communities. Okay. And uh, Jennifer, I'm glad I knew that was going to come up because that's a Wall Street Journal article that was recently published, and I'm going to share it with everybody in chat. And just to summarize, uh, what Jennifer is asking about is that um, it is a type of community called a life plan community. Okay. And I'm going to I'm going to share a slide with y'all here. This is, this slide is showing you all the different living arrangements that are outside of our home. Okay. Okay. And I can go into more detail there. But for those of you who are not familiar with Life Plan Continuing Care Communities, Life Plan Continuing Care Communities basically take independent living, assisted living, memory care, and nursing and rehab, and they put it all together on one campus. Now, um, the concept here is that an individual will move in and be able to live in this community for a lifetime. They move in independent and they've got everything there. This is also the housing option that you hear your friends talking about that oftentimes will have an entry fee. And I'm gonna share another slide that sort of briefly goes into that entry fee, and I'll email this all, put a link on this for everybody. But just a bit of background here. So these are the life plan CCRC contracts. All right. Now, as so what you've got is two components with these contracts, an upfront cost or an entry fee and a monthly cost. And as you can see, the type A life care contract can oftentimes have what any of us would look at as a higher entry fee that may or may not be fully or partially refundable. The contracts are all different. So what Jennifer is talking about is the article that I'm dropping in a summary to the article into chat right now for y'all, that recently the Wall Street Journal did an investigation and they discovered that there's been about 16 bankruptcies of communities like this since 2020. Okay. So 16 bankruptcies in basically 5 years. Not the good news about the bad news about, is that there are bankruptcies of any of these communities. The good news is that it's a very small percentage, but that does not change the us being cautious if we are looking at at a community that has an entry fee. Anything other than, a rental where you're moving in and you can move out, we need to look at this. Now, there's a couple of things that you'll see when you read the article. One of the things that I think that this article is going to prompt is more states to have regulations. The interesting thing is that every state does most in many states these communities are regulated by the insurance commission. So Jennifer, getting back to what should you do, is I urge you not to not look at these communities as an option based on this article, but I urge you and anybody to be a cautious consumer. And what are some of the things? And in the article that we wrote is that, ask the question, what percentage of the entry fee is refundable? How is the refund secured? What happens if the community is sold or goes bankrupt? And ask for a document on the financial health of the community. And this may be an option where you bring in an attorney that you have worked with to sort of read the contract to you and review the contract. It may be perhaps you have a financial planner. Now, oftentimes when financial planners see life plan communities, it's sort of like, whoa, wait a minute, this is expensive and I don't understand it. And that's why I'm often comparing these communities to colleges, is that, if you look at a typical private school, it doesn't really look like it's a good investment for your student, but you're going there for a life experience. You're going there for peace of mind. You're going there for the amenities and the security, and and you want to evaluate it on that. Okay, Jennifer, I hope that was good. I hope that I wasn't too long-winded. Lots to be there. Okay. Next question I've got here. Leslie says, can you tell us the other two legs of the stool? You told us 2 out of the 4. Okay, Leslie, I was waiting for somebody to tell me to go back to the slide. I just didn't want to burn the clock and talk for an hour on this topic. So I'm going to go back to the legs of the stool, and I'm going to go back to my questions. So remember, question number 1, what if I can't drive or I don't want to drive? Just think about that. Talk about that. What does that look like in your house? Question number 2, what if I can't get around my home easily because of an injury or an accident or just a typical mobility? What does that look like? The question number 3, what if I'm not connected to my neighbors? And the reason I bring this up with aging in place, and that's your personal village, is that oftentimes I'm talking to people that say, I want to age in place. And I'll ask them, how are you connected to the neighbors in your neighborhood? And they say, oh yeah. Oh, well, tell me about it. And oftentimes they're telling me a story from 20 or 30 years ago, not today. Is that we have a lot of memories associated with our homes, and that oftentimes leads us to want to age in place. But so your personal village, the connections in your neighborhood and where you're living right now. And then the last one, and this is the one that breaks my heart, but it's also, it's a game changer, is what if I have a cognitive impairment like dementia in the future? So it's good that we all want to age in place, but what if I'm living here in this home and I have dementia? How am I going to take care of myself, or how is somebody going to take care of me? Okay, so I'm glad you asked that question, and I got through my slide there. Okay, Leslie says, how do I find honest assessments of a CCRC, quality of life, financial stability, etc.? Leslie, And I haven't looked at chat, but folks, if you've got ideas, go into chat and give Leslie some ideas. But Leslie, I'm going to give you my 2 cents here. Number one, it's important for us to all look at ratings. Okay, it's very important. You know, Medicare does ratings of nursing homes. There's an organization, CARF, that does a certification of life plan communities, CCRCs, and but I love talking to people that are living in the community. Okay, that's where I get my best source of pride on, is this going to be for me? And so Leslie, if you or a loved one are considering, let's say, 3 different life plan communities, and I would urge you to think about 2 or 3 if you're looking at these. I would urge you to work with the marketing team, get invited to events and talk to as many residents as you can about how they made the move, how they like living there, the concerns that they have living there, the concerns they had before they moved. And that's where you're going to get a more honest, real assessment. Now, if we want to review the finances of a community, that's where I would talk to an elder law attorney, or I would talk to a financial planner. There's also, and I'll drop it into our chat, one of our positive aging community champions is a company called the Life Care Affordability Plan. And they will do a customized review of options that you're looking at. And that might be, something worth investing, because let's face it, folks. I mean, this is a real investment, and uh, so uh, let's see, Leslie. I hope my ramblings helped, and I hope that there's some good chat comments in there that might actually also help you, because, folks, this is an open discussion here. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. Rich says, "How can I learn what options I have with a low income?" All right, Rich. Listen, affordability is a number one topic and a priority for me on this platform. And the first resource that I want everybody to know about, regardless of if you think you're going to qualify for affordability subsidized or not, is the area agencies on aging in our county. Okay, so there is a great resource, no matter where you are, called the Elder Care Locator, and I'm going to drop that website the into chat. The Elder Care Locator can connect you to any area agency on aging in the country, and the what area agencies on aging do is, currently our taxpayer dollar pays for us all to have an elder care locator serving our county, and they serve us all regardless of our income, but they are exceptional at helping you identify affordability options. So here's the good news, Rich. There are affordable senior living options that are out there. They are most abundant in the independent living category. Okay. Um, in the independent living category. So if you know somebody that you think might qualify for subsidized housing, it's very important to get on waiting lists as quickly as possible. Okay. So you might not be ready today to move to a senior living apartment building, but if you feel like your income is going to qualify you for some Section 8, some HUD housing, some moderate housing that's out there, just call the area agency on aging, get on all the waiting lists in the areas that you're where you live, because your number might not come up for a couple of years. And in a couple of years, that's not when you want to get on the waiting list. So that is in the independent living category. The assisted living and memory care category, unfortunately, there are limited Medicaid waivers that are out there. So we got to be more creative in that area. And that's where I go back to building our personal village, leaning on nonprofits and things of that nature. But in nursing and rehab, currently, and this is scary, all this stuff, folks, that they're talking about with Medicaid is really scary because Medicaid is a safety net for all of us. If we live long enough and we spend down our money, we hope that, I don't want to live in a nursing home, but at least I know that Medicaid can cover my care in a nursing home. We want to make sure that that's still there. Okay. I was rambling there. Rich, the thing that I'm going to tell you about affordability is building our personal village, what I call building our personal village. The more that we can sort of cultivate a network around us that can provide us with support, whether it be friends, family, or neighbors, these are providers that we don't have to write a check to. That stretches the dollar that we have. And the other thing that I want people to think about from an affordability point of view is that we can't wait around for all these developers to build us affordable housing. And home sharing is a great solution. We can save money. We can reduce isolation, and we can live in the community when we're home sharing. So I hope that gives you some ideas. Okay. Somebody asked about the Wall Street Journal article, and I'm going to repost that. It's actually because a lot of people don't subscribe to the Wall Street Journal. We did a summary of it, and there's a link to the article at the end of the summary, and hopefully that's helpful. Okay, Wendy says, what do I risk if I wait until I no longer qualify for independent but need some assistance? Will most communities accept me into assisted living, or do they usually accept only people into the independent living? Okay, now, Wendy, I'm going to share my screen again. What Wendy is talking about here, folks, is, again, the life plan, continuing care, retirement community. Some, not all of these communities only accept people who are independent living. Okay. And so there is a risk if you're investigating a community that has that policy and then and then you are no longer independent. Okay. Now, here's the good news is that there are thousands of other options out there. So, for example, Wendy, let's pretend that you're saying, I'm not ready yet to move into Shady Acres life plan community that has the policy that they only accept independent living. But I've done a little bit of research, and there's an assisted living memory care community that's down the street from me. This is what I talk about making a plan, folks. Just knowing that resources are available. So, Wendy, the day that you decide I'm ready now, and you call up the life plan community and they say, sorry, Wendy, you don't qualify, or Wendy, we don't have an independent apartment. You missed your opportunity. You've done some research so that you know that there's a couple of other places that you can go to that don't have an entry fee, that you just go directly in and you receive assisted living or memory care. So I hope that helps you, but you're right on there, Wendy. Some of these communities, because and folks, it may seem like it's not fair. It's sort of like, well, hey, why can't I move into assisted living at Shady Acres? The reason is that those assisted living, nursing, and memory care they're trying to reserve those for the residents that move in independent and are aging in place in that community. Okay. Next question. Jan says, responding to Leslie, says, Leslie, any community you tour should provide you with a copy of their disclosure package containing this information. Thanks, Jan. And also, The other thing, I'm glad I saw Jan there, because the other thing that I want to remind everybody of is you don't need to walk this road alone. I hope that just being on a discussion like this makes you realize that you're not alone in the boat. There's lots of us that are going through this, but there's professionals like Jan, like me, and I haven't glanced at chat, but I know there's lots of providers that are in the chat today. Nancy Ruffner, I see there, that are there to help through these difficult decisions. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Peer lending. Has anyone used a service of peer lending such as Prosper? Or can anyone talk about sources for financial assistance, financial emergency, or non-emergency during these challenging times? Okay, this is what I love about doing these discussions. I have never heard of the term peer lending, but I know there's somebody out there that has, and I am also going to use my handy AI assistant here and learn more about that. But thank you for the person that asked the question about peer lending. Um, and I'm going to do some research, and maybe that could be a discussion. And okay, and Carol, let's see, Carol. Hopefully, you see the Wall Street Journal article in chat now, and then oh, another question about for a response from Catherine. For Wendy says, Wendy, more and more I'm seeing CCRC communities be very cautious about bringing somebody into the care center from the outside because they're obligated for their IL residents. Okay, whew. Catherine, I'm glad. I think I answered the question correctly based on your response there, so that's good. Okay, so I got through all the Q&A questions. Now I'm going to go dive into some of the chat. And look, we got 20 minutes till the top of the hour. We're not doing too poorly here today. I will add all my slides to the recording link for everybody. And let's see. Jose says life plan communities are challenged for staff. High price, no staff, no service. Jose, this is the challenge that not just our senior living industry, but every industry is being faced with. And I'm just keeping my fingers crossed. But I've seen we're beginning to see, some execution of technology. But oh, this is what I wanted to share with y'all. This is a great thing. Okay. I'd said earlier, and this relates to staff, Jose. I said earlier that I'm 59 now. When I was 43, I moved in and I lived in 5 senior living communities as a resident temporarily for about a week, okay, each. And here's the blind spot that I didn't realize. I had been in the business for over 20 years at that point, and I had helped all these communities with their marketing and outreach and all that. And everybody is always talking about their trained staff and how great their staff is and how, we care for you just like you're our family. And that's all true, by the way. Doesn't matter what community you're at. But until I moved in and lived in a community, I didn't realize who does most of the caring in communities. It's the other residents. And I'm not talking about changing bedpans and things like this. I'm talking about emotional caregiving. I'm talking about some practical caregiving as well. I mean, if somebody needs to get something off a shelf in their kitchen, it's not an RN that comes running around the corner. It could be their next door neighbor. Okay. But the beauty of these communities is that we're in close proximity to our neighbors. And so for some of the questions that I saw earlier, when you're looking into these communities, another important thing that I've found is a resident council that is active and engaged and recognizing how important the emotional and the connection between the residents are in the care model. And I'm hopeful, here, Jose, you sent me on a tangent, and guys, I know somebody's probably typing now, Steve, shut up, start reading more questions. But I was on a podcast a few years ago, and somebody asked me a question. They said, Steve, if you could build a community, what would it look like? And it was a surprise question for me. And so I said, wow, I didn't think about that. But if I built a community, it would be a life plan community, okay? Independent assisted nursing, memory care, the whole shebang. And I don't know what the entry fees would look like. Hopefully, it'd be affordable. But at entry, if somebody qualified financially, I'd have a real important question to ask them. I'd say, Mr. Gurney, you qualify, you can move into independent living. Okay. But you might not like this requirement if you're going to live here in independent living. If you live in this community in independent living, you need to volunteer a minimum of 10 hours helping our residents in assisted living, nursing, and memory care. If that's a deal breaker, sorry, there's a bunch of other communities for you. But here's my way of thinking is that if I got 100 independent residents that are donating a minimum of 10 hours, and I can tell you, once a lot of these residents start volunteering for 10 hours, they're going to bump that up to 20, 30, 40 hours a week, a month. Okay. I got 1,000 hours of support for my residents from their fellow residents. This is what we do in schools, folks. This is what we do in villages and communities and co-housing communities. And I want to see it happen in senior living. And that can help us with affordability, and that can help us with Jose's question about staff. Sorry about the tangent there. Joe says, we need legal protections for CCRC residents when the community goes bankrupt or is sold. At this point, it seems the consumer must assume the risk. Yes, and just also realize, folks, that in some states, like I know that Virginia and Maryland, these are regulated by the insurance commission, okay? But it, that's still no guarantee. But you're right. But just like anything that we sign up for, we just have to be cautious consumers. But I know this news is top of mind, and we're all fearful. But I also want people to realize that there's an equal risk to, if you feel that this would be appropriate to move to one of these communities, there's also a risk in staying at home and perhaps having a fall and missing the opportunity to engage in a community and potentially, having an accident or an injury. Okay. All right. Jose said, if CCRCs can't attract staff for the most affluent, where does that leave the rest of us? And Jose, these are great questions. And this is what I like. This is why I wanted to do a forum like this today. Okay. I don't have my magic wand and I don't have the answer, but my response to that is we got to help each other. We gotta build our personal village and tap into that unpaid support and supplement it with paid support. That's my only answer. Okay. Let's see the legs of okay. Jose, you're getting a gold star. Lots of great, questions. Legs of the stool assume non-use of robots to help with the activities of daily living. These will start to appear on the market in 2027 for about $17,000. I agree. I think robots, AI, all this stuff, while there are downsides, can be amazing to provide us with support in the future. But for folks that are here and now and trying to make decisions today or in the next couple of years, we gotta operate in what's out there for us today. Another great resource, Silver Bridges Consulting. Yes, they are, and they're a positive aging community champion. I'm gonna drop them into chat if you're interested in that. Hopefully all the people looking for the summary of the article see it now. Janelle says, as a service coordinator supporting independent seniors across Washington, D.C., I'm committed to ensuring older adults receive comprehensive support in line with the district's state plan on aging. Okay. Yeah. Janelle, glad you're here. Folks, read Janelle's what she shared there. Waiting list costs money, which you may not get back. Now, Lenore, yes, there are entry fees. We know that. I have found, though, that a lot of the entry fees, even for the expense, I mean, the waiting list fees, I should say, um, tend to be somewhat reasonable. Okay. And I know that's a relative term, but I believe that you don't need to put at a lot of these communities, you don't need to put the full entry fee down until your name comes up off the waiting list, and that is uh, can be a little more reasonable. Yeah, okay, yeah. Jan says, yeah, I would say, and what I would say would be reasonable is something in, like Jan said, 3,000, 5,000. I've even heard, people put $500 down on a waiting list because a lot of these communities realize that you are whatchamacallit, that people are putting their names on multiple waiting lists. Okay. Okay. Uh, Phyllis, the good thing about having enough money to live in a CCRC means that we have enough money with other options, even hiring our own caregivers. Yeah, I mean, folks, you can read uh, Phyllis's comment there. It's wonderful, and this is a good time because we're talking about affordability. I look at this world in three different buckets. Is that, let's say, those of us who can afford expensive life plan communities or life plan communities is on one end. On the other end is people that qualify for subsidies, whether it be Medicaid, Section 8, what have you. The group that I'm really concerned about is the group in between. It's sometimes called the forgotten middle, the caught between the cracks group. This group generally needs to be rather creative in how they're making plans and what they're thinking about. But the important thing is to think about this and start making plans earlier. If you know somebody that's in that group. And Phyllis, like your point there at the beginning of your comment is that if you can afford most life plan communities, that means that other options are affordable to you as well. Um, Leslie says, has your experience shown that the assisted living category is more costly if you have to move from independent living? Also, have you heard, maybe not totally true, that a CCRC independent living can be fine, high quality, but the assisted living and skilled is not as great, partly based on being short staffed and not well managed? So, folks, the again, we can't talk about any community with a blanket, okay? Like we can't look at this with a blanket. My advice to y'all is that, like Leslie, to answer this question, here's how I would answer it. I would find two or three different communities that I could envision myself moving into at some point in time. And I would just start doing my homework on those specific two to three communities. And what you're probably going to find is you're going to find varying opinions. You're going to find different um, data points, Medicaid, or I mean Medicare surveys, CARF surveys. Residents may talk differently, and we just, at some point, if our desire is to move from wherever we're living into one of these communities, we are taking a risk. But think about it, folks. Those of you who've had kids that are in college, um, we do all the research to get our kids into whatever school, or they choose whatever school, and they get there, and for whatever reason, it's not an ideal match. And then we're looking, how do you minimize the damage, the financial damage, the emotional damage, and the opportunity to make a move. The important thing that you need to also, sometimes people think that, oh, if I move to Shady Acres, that's the last place I'm going to live and I can't move anywhere else. And that's absolutely false. We don't think that way when we move into an apartment building, do we? Okay, I'm going to stick it out through the end of my lease and then I'm moving out of here. It's the same in senior living and even the communities that have the entry fees. I guarantee when you talk to a community with an entry fee, if you put down the entry fee and you paid your monthly fee and you decided that it wasn't for you, or you decided that you wanted to move and live with your kids, up 99.9%, if you're in an early window, you're going to get all that entry fee back or the majority of it back. Okay. Um, Leslie, I didn't answer your question probably the way you wanted me to answer. I know a lot of you guys want me to here's the checklist. This will do it, but try to narrow it down and then just drill down and ask questions and use my college analogy, folks. It's sort of like, kids can't pick a college just by looking at some kind of USA Today report. They got to go to the campus. They got to talk to the students. They got to talk to the professors. And even when they make that big decision to move there, sometimes it doesn't work out. Nancy referenced is my life site and Brad breeding. Yeah, Nancy, I have been communicating with Brad and I know Trip with My Life site. It is a really cool site, and they have a thing called the money gauge system that will enable you to you can plug in some variables and it'll evaluate uh, life plan communities that you might be able to afford, or might be in your budget. Okay. Oh boy, lots of chatter here. Okay, and Jan says you can get refunds on the waiting list too. Okay. Lee says financial planning is essential component in researching options. Step one is to sell our 4-bedroom townhouse. We have a refundable deposit with a non-for-profit CCRC. We have already been on their waiting list for more than 2 years. We've been trying to find a local financial planner in Northern Virginia to help us compare the costs. We've not been able to find a financial planning practice. Most financial planning have a business model under assets under management. And Lee, I am going to drop in the life care affordability folks. It may be, I know that they are associated with a financial planning firm. They're also based in Northern Virginia, and but I believe they're nationwide as well. And have a conversation with them. They may actually be helpful to you in your journey. But my hat's off to you because you're on the waiting list. You're waiting to come off the waiting list, and you've got a little plan there, and I love it. And I also love the fact that you realize that having some quality, objective financial guidance is very important. But remember, folks, you don't need to just go to your son-in-law for financial guidance. It's okay to talk to a couple of professionals in this space. And also, Lee, there are fee-for-service financial planners. So in your searching, and I think I can give you a few that you might call, but there's fee-for-service. So you don't need to have assets under management. You can actually pay a financial planner to do a plan for you that you execute on your Charles Schwab account. I know that, and it's a great resource. Jonathan says, please define what memory care is. So broadly, memory care is any community that can support safely the caring for us if we have a cognitive impairment like dementia. Now, um, if you have early cognitive impairment, you may be fine living in a community just with human supervision that doesn't have secure entries and things of that nature. But as that impairment progresses, you may need to be living in what we refer to as a memory care community. Now, nursing homes, some nursing homes have secure units and can take care of individuals with dementia who also have other skilled nursing needs. But the bulk of memory care communities are licensed as assisted living, meaning the many of the residents don't have mobility issues. They just only have cognitive issues. And therefore, they need a secure environment with this is where the staff is super important, folks, is and the physical setting of a memory care community, adopting the neighborhood model where your caregivers are caring for, let's say, anywhere from 10 to 20 residents in a little neighborhood. This has been proven to be a much more desirable model for caring. Okay, I'm going down the list here, folks. We got we got about 5 minutes. Leslie, this is my first session. It's excellent, but I want to know where I can find a summary of the session and other links. Yes, proaging.com, Leslie. I'm going to get the recording. You can also, folks, you can email me, okay? Steve@proaging.com. If you got questions, send me an email. We got a huge tool bench of experts. We've been talking, we got Jan on the call, we got Silver Bridges, we got Life Care Affordability Plan, we got countless other resources out there, area agencies on aging. I'll do my best to connect you with folks that are appropriate if you're trying to help either yourself, your loved one, or a client. Let's see. Okay. Catherine, communities provide lots of informal support via fellow resident staff. Aging in place can be easier. Numbers are stacked against us. Yep. Okay. Okay. Chitra says, can you comment on the value of long-term care while aging in place? And Chitra, I think you may be talking about long-term care insurance. Okay. Again, there is value in long-term care insurance. If you have a policy, be very wary about letting that policy lapse unless you can truly self-insure. Because those who are investigating long-term care insurance policies, you want to go out there and do your homework. There are new products out there that are, they call them hybrid. They're tied in with life insurance, and that is making it a more affordable spend for us. So look into that. But loosely, long-term care insurance, it's an insurance policy that you pay for now, and then sometime in the future, if you need the things that the policy covers, perhaps adult daycare, home care, assisted living, nursing care, then the policy will pay a portion of that. And what it can do is it can help stretch the money that we've got. Okay. Let's see. Mindy Mitchell. I left a CCRC that I moved into. Wow, Mindy, I'd like to have you on. Maybe we'll have you as a guest on one of these. Just wasn't for me. I was able to get the money refunded based on their formula, which was in the docs I signed. Mindy, send me an email because I would love to interview you. And in fact, folks, I just interviewed a gentleman that lives in a life plan community that you might find really interesting. Hearing, firsthand from somebody who made the decision. Jan says Alex Selenev is a fiduciary that specializes in planning as well. Okay. Wendy says, I would like resources for independent living retirement communities without the hard sell from realtors. Okay. And actually, Wendy, let me go to my slide here. What you might be referring to is active adult communities, 55 plus communities. Those are the types of communities that many times are purchase arrangements and not rentals. And therefore, there may be a realtor involved in that transaction. But, Jan Brito's on this call. If you're working with a realtor and you feel like you're getting the hard sell, I want you to consider looking at a different realtor. Okay. Nobody in this space should be doing a hard sell. There was a study done many years ago that said that on average, when somebody decides they want to make a move to a senior community, that it takes up to 31 months to make that decision. Okay. Um, okay. All right, guys, it's after 1 o'clock. I, 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 I know I didn't get to every single question that is on here, but I hope you enjoyed this format. I want your feedback, okay? I don't know if something like this works, but if it works, I'm going to keep doing it, okay? And so when you sign out of this, you have a little exit survey where you can just type your thoughts, or you can send me an email that says, "Hey man, Steve, bring somebody else on to do the open forum. You talk too much." Or, how about we do it this way? Or keep doing it. Okay. I don't care. I mean, my goal is to cultivate this community and provide resources to you all and help people make connections. And I can't do that without your feedback. So thank you so much for your time today. We'll see you at the next one, and I really look forward to reconnecting. And I'll get this recording up, and I'll get some of the resources that we've got up for you all later this afternoon. All right. Thanks, y'all. Have a great day.